Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the EDH Jank Center podcast. This is a cheeky little show where we break down 5 janky, budget, or underutilized cards every other week. These cards may not be the best, most efficient, or even good, but here at the Jank Center, we believe every single card deserves a chance to shine. As always, I am your host, Jordan, and today I am joined by my co-host, the beautiful Crest Lightning, everyone.
Oh my gosh, you can't say that to me. I have a wife.
I can call you beautiful. Right?
That's fair. Yeah, I appreciate it.
That's not like I'm not trying to steal you from your wife. I really am not.
She'll fight you.
Because I have my own kind of wife. Wait, what?
I said she'll fight you and win.
Yeah, that's totally valid. I'm definitely not a fighter. I am not. I've said this from day one. What I bring to the table in a conflict is self-awareness.
Right.
And I know that most of the time I'm probably not going to be winning.
And you like to goad. You like to get other people to fight each other.
Exposed. Yeah, I do enjoy being the puppet master, if you will. Literally, like the other night, I was playing with my friends, and I've recently switched up my Cardor Doomscourge deck. It used to be fully based around blinking Cardor all the time, but now I've reworked it so that it's basically like a Rakdos tokens deck.
Right.
And I keep Cardor in the command zone most of the time. And it's really just about like attacking with tokens. And if Cardor is out, that last ability on the card where it's whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. That's what I built the deck around. But Cardor now in the deck functions as a sort of like closing card. I play it in like the late game when everyone's got a very established board and I want to start attacking with impunity.
Yeah.
I'll play Cardor and everyone else will start killing each other. And that's what happened this past Friday night. I cast Cardor and 3 players died in that resulting turn cycle. We played a 6-player game. I know that's very taboo to say, but we have a lot of people coming over sometimes. So 6-player games sometimes are necessary, or we'll do 2-headed giant. But anyways, Force Combat is my sweet, sweet baby. And I love it so much. And I will never stop using it because the responsibilities are not on me. You know, like I didn't kill you.
That's true.
All right. So how's your week been, baby? Tell me about it. What's been going on with you?
Like in general?
Just in general, yeah. What's been going on?
Just working.
Working? I haven't been working.
Yeah, right. You can talk about that in a sec. I just been prepping I have a trip here this next week. So I'm just like...
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm just like trying to get everything done so that I don't have to think about anything.
It's stressful, yes. I fully understand.
Podcast, and we're just like, we're trying to, we're just starting. So we're trying to,
trying to get things backlogged before all these trips so that we're not stressing about the schedule when you come back and things.
Set in stone, figure things out.
Yep.
You know how it is to start a business. Yep. Everybody does. Relates.
Everyone knows how it is to start a business.
Everybody relates with that very specific experience, especially when it comes to podcasting. But yeah, and then my other job as well, bookkeeping. So
yeah, it's a lot.
And it's the beginning of the month, so
Yeah, it's been a bit stressful for me too. I just hurt my back at work. I was pouring ketchup. So for those of you who don't know, I don't just sit at home. I am a server at a restaurant where I live, and because I'm an artist, I'm an actor, music producer, so I need flexibility in my schedule, and that's really the only job that gives me that flexibility. So I have a lot of gripes with it, but it helps pay the bills, so can't complain too much. Except when you pull something in your back while pouring ketchup at said job, which is what happened to me. I was literally like, I stretch every morning. I am so good about like trying to maintain my body's flexibility and joint strength, and I'm all about that stuff. And I've been doing this for a year and a half so far, and my body has felt great.
Yeah.
And so I felt so betrayed when I was leaning over this bottle of ketchup, pouring a bag of ketchup into it, and I feel a pop on the left side of my upper back. And it just, like when you don't sleep correctly on your pillow and like you'll go to like lean your head down and like you can feel it radiate throughout your back. You know what I mean? You ever had that happen to you?
I sleep really bizarrely, so I don't know. No.
Okay, well, just for everyone's context, everyone else I've said this to has been like, "Oh, yeah."
Sure.
So I'm not weird.
No. Yeah, I'm admitting that I am the bizarre one.
No, you're the weird one. Okay, cool. Thanks Thanks for affirming me.
You're welcome.
It's just been, chronic pain for the rest of this week. It's been kind of a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
I had to call out of other shifts because of that. But I've been doing some exercises, doing some things, and it's been helping my pain, and going to work again tomorrow. So we're going to take it easy and hopefully, get back into the rhythm of things. But anyways, enough about back pain. Anything else interesting going on in your life?
Yes.
I know there might be...
Yes. Yes. So, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth just came out, which is a video game.
Yes.
And is the second
about
one of the trilogy that they're working on, remaking the entirety of Final Fantasy VII, which is an old game from the 90s.
Does that mean that there were 6 other Final Fantasy games before that?
Correct.
Okay. Wow, that is a lot of games.
Yeah, they're on 16. All came out last year. Final Fantasy 16.
Wow,
yeah.
That's crazy.
I played through that too.
That's so many games.
Final Fantasy 7 though is the best one, and everybody can fight me on that. I have not played 6 yet, so don't scream at me. Or do. It's fine. I'm getting to it.
It's good for engagement.
I'm finishing up Final Fantasy 5, which is taking a really long time. But Final Fantasy 7 Remake was, because this is kind of like the sequel, so it's kind of like how Tears of the Kingdom was for me with Breath of the Wild. They kind of are a conglomerate in my mind. Because this is literally like this sequel game. This is like Final Fantasy VII Remake was just disc 1 of the original Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
But as like a blockbuster game. And this is now disc 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, 4 years later.
Okay.
And this game
it's been fun.
It's changed. So it is, instead of like very like a linear, like the first game takes place in one big city. So like the story beats, you're in like sort of linear areas. This game expands to the entirety of the like continent, and so there's multiple cities, there's multiple places, so you have like a lot of like open area to explore. It's not quite like an open world game because there's still linearity, there's still big story beats in between, but it's a lot more like a traditional, like the old Final Fantasies, and a lot like Final Fantasy VII. Like they've done it's like basically the same, except for with more modern traversal stuff and the real time. Well, it's not. You can stop time mid battle to like select your attacks. Anyway, it's got the best battle system. I love the characters. These are 2-decade-old, 3-decade-old characters now. No, not quite 3 decades, but close. I think it's 25 years. These characters are so good and so awesome. I am a big fan, and I love this game. It is the thing I am the most excited. And Persona 3 Reload just came out, and I've been playing that too. Another franchise that I like RPGs. Another franchise I'm really into. And this, like, the excitement for Rebirth is just like immensely huge. It's just so much. I'm so excited. All I want to do is play this game.
Yeah, but you haven't bought it yet.
No, I got it. I've played probably through I played through the first like province. I've done everything there is to do in the province.
Oh, nice.
I've helped all the people out. I've done all the party member. I've made them all happy and love me because I want everybody to like me. Yeah. And I've done the like first couple major bosses, transition to the next like chunk of the next like province to explore.
Nice.
So I'm excited. I'm almost to the part where the demo was.
Hell yeah. Well, let's transverse over to the next province of the podcast.
Right. Which is Magic the Gathering. And Final Fantasy is doing Magic the Gathering next year. Yes. I'm so excited.
Where it's probably not going to be a lot. Wait, is it going to be a Universes Beyond?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like they're doing Fallout right now. Next year they're going to do Final Fantasy.
Wow. That's going to be so much content.
I will have a lot to say next year.
No. I'm gonna have to do my research and stuff. Okay, well let's get into it. As you all know, or if you don't know, if you're new here, we talk about 5 janky budget or underutilized cards on this podcast. All of these are going to be under $1. This is the first one that we're going to talk about, and it's a 6-cent card. This is Vicious Battle Rager. It's 3 in a black creature, dwarf barbarian. Yeah. You're already like... When Vicious Battle Rager enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. The initiative was something that was introduced in the D&D sets that came out in the past few years, and that's basically just
one specific.
You enter the Undercity, which is a specific dungeon, and as you continue to take the initiative or keep the initiative, you advance through the dungeon, I believe. It's not too important for this. We're going to talk about this next ability the most, which is Spiked Retribution. Whenever Vicious Battle Rager becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller loses 5 life, and it's a 1/5. Yeah. This is so cool. And again, this is I used to talk about this a lot in the past, but Baldur's Gate specifically had some amazing cards for Commander. There's, in the same way that New Capenna and we talk about Kaldheim a lot too on this podcast. Those 2 sets, along with Baldur's Gate, I think made for some really, really awesome Commander cards. And from the top down, even down to these common cards that are, cents on the dollar.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate is Command Legends.
Which, that is true.
Yeah.
Which I guess that makes sense that they would make it for Commander, or that's
Right.
good for Commander. But it's good. It's good.
I know.
I'm going to talk about
I know.
it. First of all, I do love the fact that it
This card
includes a mini
is
game.
what just does it for me, man. That's why I'm making a face.
Is that a frog or a lizard?
It's a toad running away.
It's a toad running away or running with
Running
it?
away. It's frogified. Oh, maybe it is running with him.
Yeah, like, is it a familiar or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look like he's running away. Yeah, it looks like they're running together. Maybe there's a dwarf. Hey, if anybody D&D
Yeah, drop your interpretation in the comments.
D&D nerds, is there a dwarf and a toad? The way that like Minsk has a
is this
little
like
hamster or whatever.
Yeah, is this like significant at all in the lore or anything like that? Anyways, yeah, it's got a nice little mini game that it introduces to a game, and I'm just always a fan of that. I love Monarch, the mechanic.
Yeah, that's my favorite
and
too.
The initiative is something similar, gives players another thing to sort of play within the game, which I always think is super fun. It's got a nice little stat line. It's got a big butt, which we love here on the channel.
Sure.
So it means it's a pretty formidable blocker as well. It doesn't die very easily in combat. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about was its potential with lure style enchantments.
Okay.
Are you familiar with lure at all?
Nope.
The card. So lure is an enchantment aura. I'll pull it up here. It says, all creatures able to block enchanted creature do so. It's an enchantment aura. It's 1 green. So basically, this is a very powerful combo, a little 2-card combo that you can do is you play Vicious Battle Rager, you enchant lure onto Vicious Battle Rager, you swing at someone with a lot of creatures, and yeah, you're probably going to lose your Battle Rager.
Right.
But here's the thing. All of those individual blocks are going to go on the stack.
Right, so you're just like...
Or rather, trigger the Battle Rager's ability, and you could probably just
win.
one-shot someone.
Yeah, off the bat.
Because that 5 damage adds up fast.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I think that both of these cards, like Lure at its cheapest is 13 cents.
Right.
Vicious Battle Rager is 6 cents.
Yeah.
You can include this combo in your deck for 20 cents. 20 cents. And you're there. You're killing a player with these 2 cards.
What's going to be a good
that's pretty cool.
slot in if you need green and black?
Well, I think there's actually a couple of things you could do because,
Sure.
again, like there are these style of decks done with Death Touch specifically.
Sure.
Like Lure is great with Death Touch, obviously, because it wipes
People's boards.
all creatures that block it. Yeah. So I sort of thought up maybe a little bit more thematic, but still based around the mechanic. Sisters of Stone Death.
Okay.
So this is an older Ravnica commander from Ravnica City of Guilds. It's 4 black, green, legendary creature Gorgon. It has pay a green. Target creature blocks Sisters of Stone Death this turn if able.
Yeah.
You could pay black and a green. Remove from the game target creature blocking or blocked by Sisters of Stone Death.
Yeah.
You could pay 2 and a black. Put a creature card removed from the game with Sisters of Stone Death into play under your control, and it's a 7/5.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So this is a bottom-up deck.
Right.
Where we're going to fill the deck with cards that synergize and work well together, even if we don't play the commander the entire game.
Right.
Our strategy does not rely on our commander at all.
Being out
However,
on the board, right.
It's helped by the fact that we have a very synergistic commander if we need to cast it.
Right.
And it would be all based around these lure style effects, lots of death touch creatures, and sort of Golgari combat shenanigans, which I think is pretty rare. And I honestly might just do this as a deck tech on the channel so that we can explore this idea more in depth, because I really am fascinated by it. And I want to see how many cards I could fit in here that would fit this sort of theme. And I think Vicious Battle Rager would be an excellent inclusion in here.
Yeah.
But that's all for me, baby. What's your lore pick for this commander? Or
this is
creature?
a fun little guy who's got another fun little guy on the card. This is banned in Pauper.
Yes. Is it banned
That's
in Pauper?
what it says in Scryfall.
What?
Is it because it's from a Command Legends, or is it because it's busted?
Wait, I don't know. Or maybe is Initiative banned in Pauper?
I don't know.
Is
Somebody
that why?
in the comments, let us know.
Yeah, please.
So it's a dwarf from Baldur's Gate. So and it's black, right? So my initial idea was to find any dwarf commander, any legendary dwarf commander that is black from the Forgotten Realms or Baldur's Gate, and the only one that I could find, if there are any more, and I just am bad at searching for things, let me know. The only dwarf that has black in its colors is Barrowin of Clan Under. When it enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon. This is from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. Whenever Barrowin of Clan Under attacks, return up to one creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield if you've completed the dungeon. It doesn't really vibe. It doesn't really vibe, other than the fact that it's a couple of dwarves.
And I would assume maybe Vicious Battle Rager is part of this same clan.
Maybe.
Potentially.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you could make that connection, but I wasn't really happy with that pick. So I went with a different card from, I wanted to keep it within the Forgotten Realms or Baldur's Gate. And what I decided was you would slot this card most likely in a Karazakar, the Eye Tyrant deck.
Ooh,
so whenever you attack a player,
I love that idea.
Tap target. Of course you do, Mr. Goad. Whenever you attack a player, tap target creature that player controls and goad it. Whenever an opponent attacks another one of your opponents, you and the attacking player each draw a card and lose 1 life. So it says whenever you attack a player, it's not necessarily, you don't have to attack with Karazakar. So you're going to be attacking, and why not slot another card into the deck? That's a good attacker.
That's,
yeah,
and it's thematic because, it's a Beholder. It's from D&D.
Right, so you've got a fun Rakdos command, Forgotten Realms specific deck, which I think would be interesting.
What if the Beholder has taken control of the mind of this dwarf berserker?
Yeah, that's why he's battle raging.
He's making it attack. That's like the flavor of and he's making the frog attack too.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it vibes.
No, I love that pick. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, let's move on to our next card of the day, shall we?
You got it.
And this is actually our most expensive card of the day. This is sitting at 95 cents at the time of recording. So we're right under there.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about Infiltration Lens. This is 1 generic mana artifact equipment from Scars of Mirrodin. It says, whenever equipped creature becomes blocked by a creature, you may draw 2 cards. And the equip cost is 1. There might be an unintentional theme here, because this is also very good with lure style effects.
Are you just needing to build a lure deck? Is that what's going on?
I think I might have to at this point, because this time, if we're enchanting a creature, maybe it's Vicious Battle Rager, with both lure and we're equipping Infiltration Lens to it, not only are we one-shotting, we're draining our opponents of life every time they block, but we're also drawing 2 cards per creature that's blocking us. That is insane value. It's only 2 total mana to cast and equip. I mean, insane value for our mana investment. And also, generally, like broadly speaking, this is also good in decks outside of this sort of theme that I'm talking about. Any deck that has a formidable attacker that wants to get in for damage, i.e. Voltron decks, I'll get to the commander in a second, could run this card. I think in those builds, you really want to be putting your opponents between a rock and a hard place, right?
Yeah.
Do you take the damage, or do you let me draw 2 cards? Maybe 4 if the equipped creature has Menace, and maybe a shit ton of cards if it's enchanted with Lure.
Right.
My commander for this, I just chose an arbitrary Voltron commander. Since this card is colorless, you can include it in whatever you'd like. But I chose Rafik of the Many, which is 1 green, white, blue, legendary creature, human knight. It has Exalted. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of the turn. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until end of turn, and it's a 3/3. So you could attack with Rafik. You could include other formidable attackers in this build, but
this is just a good card.
It's really free. It's so good. Yeah. It's so good. And no wonder it's,
almost $1
hitting that $1 threshold. You know what I mean? But I still think this is amazing for Voltron decks on a budget. And even if you want to just slot this into like an aggro build, I think this is great.
Well, I mean, it being an artifact in general, you could slot it into an artifact deck and, it still do something and still have synergy.
Can have synergy there too. Yeah, definitely. All right, but what's this guy looking at, Chris?
Let me take you on a little journey. Come on, take my hand and follow me.
Okay.
We're going back to Mirrodin. Remember when Mirrodin was Mirrodin? Or no?
I mean, no, because I wasn't playing at that time.
Right.
So no, I don't.
Yeah.
I only know the Barren Wasteland or whatever.
So here's the thing. There
Yeah.
aren't any legendary creatures that are Nuruk spies, and if there are, yell at me and let me know, because I would like to know if there's anything from Mirrodin that's a legendary creature that this could go in and make sense. It doesn't really make sense in any of the legends that I could find from the Mirrodin block. So, you know what we had to do? We had to sort of...
What do we have to do?
If this is technology on Mirrodin, it's probably been incorporated by the Phyrexians. This is a little bit of a stretch.
Okay, there we go.
But New Phyrexia and all that. So I was looking for some Phyrexian cards that might have some draw card synergies to start. And so I landed on Azuri, Stalker of Spheres, 2 green and blue. When Azuri, Stalker of Spheres enters the battlefield, you may pay 3 colorless. If you do, proliferate twice. Whenever you proliferate, draw a card. So, you know, it's got draw card synergies, so if you're building a deck where you want to just draw a bunch, I think you could slot this in here and it'd still be pretty good. And it's like thematic because it's a piece of technology and it's Phyrexian and whatnot.
100%.
Just like the last card, I wasn't super happy with this one either as the pick. So the other option that I think is more flavorful and somebody who would use a Mirrodin Lens or the Infiltration Lens is Malcator Purity Overseer.
Yes, I love this commander, by the way.
Which is 1 colorless, white and blue. When Malcator Purity Overseer enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian artifact creature token. Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token. At the beginning of your end step, if 3 or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control this turn, create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token. So it's an artifact. There's artifact synergies. It's a good artifact to slot into an artifact deck. And I think vibe-wise, if you have this card pulled up, it looks like he's looking through little lenses with his like tentacles.
Sure.
He's trying to like, you know, he's literally investigating other creatures to make sure they're pure enough, I think is the flavor. So I'm like,
that's cool though. I like that flavor a lot. That's creative.
The lens, I'm like, it makes sense. I'll buy it.
Yeah. I mean, even for Azuri, if I may.
Yeah.
Azuri, I don't think is as, I mean, it may not be entirely thematic, but actually, like, if you think about it, you want to be proliferating most likely poison counters with Azuri, right? Putting Infiltration Lens on a formidable attacker that has Toxic or Infect, it does work. It like incentivizes them to block because they don't want to take the poison damage.
100%.
But if they do, you get to draw more cards, get more value.
Right, so you could take it in
but I love both of
either
these.
direction if you want to keep it in theme. I would try to keep... You know, it would be really difficult to build a deck using only cards from the Mirrodin block in general, but also if you open that up to New Phyrexia and some of the Phyrexian invasion cards, keeping it to, you know, the plane of New Phyrexia, I think would be a fun challenge. Yeah,
you have a more robust selection of cards, too, if you include the things that are set on Mirrodin or, like, that live on what was once Mirrodin.
Right.
You know,
like technology that Phyrexians would steal.
Yeah, absolutely. Also love the fact that it's a Phyrexian elephant wizard, Malcator.
Yeah, 100%.
I love that creature typing. That is fantastic. Like, I would assume it's a former Loxodon, right?
Probably. Does that mean these tentacles
those,
are like the Phyrexian evolution of Elephant Trunk?
Maybe. Jingataxius just makes like a weird version of an elephant trunk, but it's multiple tentacles.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool though. Anyways, let's move on to our next card, baby.
You got it.
Let's talk about Essence Harvest.
Okay.
This is 2 and a black. I love when you do that. 2 and a black sorcery. This is from Avacyn Restored. It says, target player loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. This is a sorcery speed, so it's not ideal, but I think personally that this effect is absolutely worth it, especially in the late game when life totals are low and you probably have, even if you're not running like stompy stuff, you probably have a 4 or 5 or 6 drop or 6 power creature that can significantly change the scope of the game if it's late in the game and we're at those lower life totals. There are also life gain synergies
of course
with this, where you can gain the amount of life that an opponent has lost in any given turn, which I think is really cool and opens up a lot of like fun synergies. And I think that's the thing is, I think for 3 mana, this is a really good inclusion.
Yeah.
personally
This
speaking.
is a great card.
Because it can shift the tide of the game.
Yeah.
Completely.
100%.
You know? And then if you are running stompy stuff, then it's like the world's your oyster and you should absolutely put this in a deck.
Okay. Like what stompy stuff?
Yeah. No, we're getting so good at this. Episode 7, getting so good at the transition. Yeah, no, we're windmill slamming this thing into Willow Dusk Essence Seer.
I'm sorry.
So that's one.
Can you say that again?
We're windmill slamming this into Willow Dusk Essence Seer.
Okay.
If you're not familiar with a windmill style dunk, it's when a basketball player uses their entire arms rotation, starting from the bottom all the way to the top to the dunk.
Right. Well, are you telling me or
Like
are you
a
telling
windmill.
the audience?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Just in case you don't know.
I do.
And the audience doesn't. Andrew might not know. Andrew might not be a basketball guy.
Keep your eyes on the road.
You know what I mean? Yeah. He's starting to think about basketball now, but please keep your eyes on the road,
Just
buddy.
getting into it.
Okay, so Willow Dusk Essence Seer. This is one black-green legendary creature, Dryad Druid. This is from Commander 2021. This is, I believe, the Strixhaven precons. Mm-hmm. You can pay 1 and tap it. Choose another target creature. Put a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the amount of life you gained this turn or the amount of life you lost this turn, whichever is greater. Activate only as a sorcery, and it's a 3.
This is so good.
We're going to be growing a creature, if not multiple, throughout the game.
Right.
We got various life gain or life loss synergies that we're pumping creatures with Willow Dusk's ability.
Which you can do every turn, or on your turn every turn.
Yeah, and if you have untapped synergies and things like that, which are hard to come by in Golgari, or harder than blue, but there are ways to untap this too and do it multiple times in a turn. Why not include a little cheeky 3-drop card, 3-drop sorcery that can capitalize on the fact that because sometimes you're gonna have a big creature, but you're not gonna be able to get it in for the damage that you needed to kill someone. Right. I always like to have spells or things like that. There's a couple spells in red that do a similar thing.
Right.
Where if I have a large creature, I can either fling it, like with Fling, or I can cast Essence Harvest and drain my opponent of life and close out the game. I think this is a lovely little card. I was not familiar with Willow Dusk. Even when Strixhaven came out, I just completely...
I've never seen this card before.
I've not seen this card before.
This is a cool card to build a deck around.
This is very dope. Yeah, and I just love the way they took, Witherbloom, the Golgari-coded house in Strixhaven.
Right.
A lot of those cards are really cool, like Dina Soul Steeper, Beladros, Witherbloom, the Elder Dragon.
And a lot of it's like...
Very, very cool designs.
With life drain and life gain. You know, it's like green-black life gain instead of black-white life gain, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, which is so cool. I love that angle.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, that's my selection. What do we got here, baby?
Okay. So Skurzdog back on Essence Harvest. This is an Innistrad card. Skurzdog is a cult of demon worshippers, and you know what that means, baby. Yeah. Grizzlebrand. Yeah. Grizzlebrand. You know who's 7? Who's a 7/7? Yeah.
Is it? Yeah,
it is Banded Commander, but
okay, yeah.
Right. So moving past Grizzlebrand, because obviously, I mean, do what you want at your table.
True, you can rule 0 this absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it is a 9 or 8 mana commander, which is like not worth it, and also probably not fun.
I mean, but when you play this thing, you can literally pay like 21 life and draw 21 cards.
But if you're making a mono black specifically Innistrad themed Skurzdog commander deck, then maybe it might be worth it for the table to let you play this card. I'm not here to decide. But in the lore, because, you say Avacyn restored, but not for very long. And same with Grizzlebrand. When Liliana kills Grizzlebrand, there's another demon that comes that takes over his place as sort of the Skurzdog demon to summon. And his name is Ormondal.
Oh,
and so the commander pick would be from Midnight Hunt, would be Jaren Corrupted Bishop, which is a transform card. It is 2 colorless and a black. Whenever Jaren Corrupted Bishop enters the battlefield or another non-token human you control dies, you lose 1 life and create a 1/1 white human creature token. Pay 2, target human you control gains lifelink until the end of the turn. At the beginning of your end step, if you have exactly 13 life, you may pay 4 colorless and 2 black. If you do, transform Jaren
Oh my
into
God.
Ormondal the Corruptor, which is a flying trample lifelinker 6/6. It has sacrifice another creature to draw a card. This is a very complex commander, if you want.
Sure.
It's thematically appropriate, and I think would make for a really hard deck to pull off. And I
love that idea, though.
Ormondal in general. So you're already playing with lifelink. So I mean, Essence Harvest works in some ways.
Sure.
If you need a specific amount of life, you can use Essence Harvest to make that happen, right? And it's target player, although gain the life, so it wouldn't work on yourself. But regardless, you're able to, if you have a 4/4 creature on the board and you're at 6 or whatever, you can drain yourself in other ways and like make sure this is a cool tool to use to get exactly 13 life.
100%. And it's a really fun include, like the flavor of this deck specifically. I could see people really being into this.
Well, and you said specifically you like games within a game, and if there's anything like trying to getting yourself to 13 life, that's a game within a game if I've ever heard it. I also wanted to mention, because there's another Ormondal card.
Yeah.
But it's a land, so you cannot, and it's a legendary creature when you transform it. It's called Ormondal.
Oh, Westvale Abbey. That's right.
Something Prince, I believe.
Profane Prince. I'm looking at it right now.
So you could slot this card in, but this card cannot be your commander because it's a land first, which I think is really interesting.
So interesting.
Because I was like, how does that work with command tags? Do you pay 2 to play a land on the board? Does it count as your? You just can't do it, is what I read. If you can do it,
right,
or if you're somebody whose table likes to and has figured out how to make this work, let me know, because I think this is also a fun card. It's Westvale Abbey is tap, add 1 colorless to your mana pool, pay 5, tap, pay 1 life. You get to put a 1/1 white and black human cleric creature token onto the battlefield, and also pay 5, tap, sacrifice 5 creatures, transform Westvale Abbey, then untap it. Right? So and obviously 9, having a 9/7 on the board, Ormondal Profane Prince is going to be better for Essence Harvest.
Yeah.
And this is little less complicated, but I don't know, you could make it work. You could use Jaren.
Include them all.
If you have Jaren as your commander, you can create the creatures to transform this land. I don't know. I'm really about this Ormondal deck. I don't have a mono black deck currently, and I think this is the one I might build.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, I love to hear that. Yeah, can we just talk about for a second the face on the face of Jaren Corrupted Bishop?
Oh yeah.
This guy is cheesing. It's like, I feel like I don't know, I'm kind of like weirded out by it.
Oh yeah, and when you transform it, it's the same, but it's the same, but from a different camera angle or perspective.
Whoa, I didn't even realize.
Yeah, so you're looking at him like you're Ormondal, and then when you transform it, you're seeing his perspective looking at Ormondal.
Wow, that is so cool. Shout out to the game designers and the artist here. That is really, really cool. I did not even notice that.
Yeah, man, this is one of the coolest depictions of... I think this demon looks way cooler than a Grizzlebrand.
I agree, especially the Profane Prince artwork. I really love that too.
Yeah. So, a little bit of an adventure, but
Anyways, let's move on to my last selection of the day. We're talking about Vitalize.
Hell yeah.
So, we're going to talk about so first of all, there are 2 versions of this card. One is over $1. So we're going to talk about the one from 6th edition, even though it's not originally from that set. Don't yell at me. It is off-brand to talk about cards over $1 on this podcast. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about the 6th edition one. It's 1 green mana. It's an instant. It's got a white border, but we don't care. Untap all creatures you control. And that's it. So this is just a great... Yeah. Imagine I just don't talk about it. We just...
Moving on.
It's got a white border. This is just... this is a great, budget green spell. It's only 1 mana. Cast it at instant speed. There's tons of possibilities here for its applications. Just to name a few, you can use this when you swing out at someone to untap all your creatures in combat and give them pseudo vigilance. You can also cast this and use it as a combat trick when you are being attacked, which brings me sort of to this is very quick. This is my commander of choice. Let's do a Death Touch deck with Finn the Fangbearer. Right. Finn is a 2-drop legendary creature, human warrior from Call Time. It has Death Touch, and whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters, and it's a 1/3. And I also want to read the flavor text here because it's just so baller. Come, Coma, and reclaim what you lost. Or does the Great Serpent fear a rematch? And that is just so sick. We need a Kaldheim themed series, kind of like Game of Thrones.
That'd be pretty dope.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, you have to blow this channel up so that I can get popular enough as an actor to create and star in this series.
Oh my gosh, do you think I could play Tybalt?
Oh my god, yes. That would be so... For those of you who don't know, I just flared my hands up and I was very excited. Anyways, personally, I think this would be a great include in the Death Touch deck, simply because you're going to be turning stuff sideways in Finn because you want to be giving your opponents poison counters. However, Vitalize helps us to be reactive and play defense when we need to. And I think that's sort of all she wrote for me.
Right.
I love this card.
So I think the theme deck card pick is very obvious on this card. You know, Miri is not only present on the art of the card, but is also being quoted.
Right.
So after waking to the magic of Lana War, no dreams can compare, is the quote of Miri, of the Weatherlight. So you could slot this into a Miri Weatherlight duelist build. So 1 colorless, green, white, first strike. Whenever Miri Weatherlight Duelist attacks, each opponent can't block with more than 1 creature this combat. As long as Miri Weatherlight Duelist is tapped, no more than 1 creature can attack you each combat. So, you know, the synergy would be you're building a deck around tapping and untapping.
Sure.
And so having this up your sleeve is incredibly useful. I mean, Vitalize is just really good. Now, Miri is talking about Lana War, the Lana War elves, right? If you want to build a Lana War deck, there are 2 legendary creatures and 1 is banned from Commander, which is Lana War Emissary.
Oh, I don't know that card.
It's really good. Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Oh, man. So, Raphalos, Lana War Emissary, is a creature elf legend. It's also like almost $30.
That makes sense for what you're about to read.
You could tap it to add 1 green mana to your mana pool for each forest you control.
And it's 2 mana?
Yeah, it's 2 green mana.
Oh my gosh.
Right, so...
Yeah, no wonder it's banned.
Yeah, it's banned. But, you know, again, if your table allows... You picked a lot of cards that the, like, immediate pick for, like, looking into the commanders, like, thematically, were just, like, banned cards.
I did not intend for that to happen. That's so funny that's true, though. Yeah, we've had 3 banned cards. We've had... So Vicious Battle Rager is banned in Pauper.
Right.
And then the commander you picked, Grizzlebrand, is also banned in Commander. And Raphalos here is also banned.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
To not pick Raphalos as your Lana War elf deck, you could pick Imariel? I wouldn't know how you Imariel, however you say it. Imaryll.
Imariel. I think that seems
Imariel
correct.
Elfheim Elite, which is 2 colorless, green, legendary creature, elf warrior. It's a 3/3. Whenever Imariel Elfheim Elite attacks, it gets +X until the end of turn, where X is the number of elves you control. You may have Imariel assigned its combat damage as though it were not blocked. This is a very good commander. It's like...
That is very cool.
Just over $5.
Yeah.
So this is a good commander.
It's from the game night sets, like those like weird Magic sets where they like it gave you like a board game essentially to play.
Right.
I've never played them.
I haven't either.
This is a very unique card. It's only ever been printed in this set.
Right, and it's the only legendary Lana War creature that I could find that isn't the banned one.
Besides the banned.
So this is cool, and this works really well, right? If you're building a mono green elf deck, I think this is, and Vitalize is really good for having a lot of elves on the board. So this is good 100%. For having a lot of elves on the board, and Vitalize is useful.
And it's flavorful.
Right, so you can tap all your elves, getting all your mana, getting all your things in order to play play more elves, bump up your commander, and then you can Vitalize and use them all as blockers again,
100%.
And it's instant speed.
Love
so
this.
you could do it on. You can save it in your hand as a defense for all your elves to block.
Definitely.
If you don't need to.
I think it's another sort of very versatile instant in green, kind of like Fog, but in a different way,
Right.
and just allows you to play some defense, which sometimes I gotta always remind my partner Marissa, 'cause she loves attacking, loves it. Can't get
Favorite
enough
part
of
of
it.
the game.
And yeah, 100%. But I have to sometimes remind her, like, it's like a choice to not attack. Like, sometimes you want to bait people, and that's like part of the game. And she's like, nah. But I think she would love this card. I think this might turn her because it's a good little trick.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on, because I think if I check my watch, I think it's only telling me that it's time for Cress's Chaos pick of the day, baby. But it's gonna be the it's gonna be the horns, but that's good too.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'll sound design some horns that sound exactly like what you tried to do.
Or
there.
you could do the horns after I do the song, or you could make like a whole tune for when I do the song, or
I'll do them the whole time we're talking, like this entire sequence.
just like one horn noise though. It hasn't stopped. It's just like one guy going real hard.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a horn noise throughout this entire podcast. It's gonna be almost an hour long.
Yeah, and it's gonna help our audience focus on our voices, right?
It's like very meditative, yeah.
Not annoying.
Anyways, what's the chaos pick of the day? So for those who don't know, the chaos pick of the day is a time where Cress,
That's me,
my lovely co-host. So I pick 4 cards that we cover in these episodes.
That is the format.
And then they pick.
We have a script, you guys. We go through. We planned what to talk about.
Notes.
We have show notes.
We're very in depth.
I don't let Jordan prepare for this card so that he is stressed out every episode that we record.
Yeah, I have to type it into Scryfall really fast so that like I can see it once you say it. So I've got my fingers. My fingers are like primed and ready.
Okay, are you for sure ready for this?
Let's go. Let's do this.
My chaos pick of the day is Ruka Rumel Biologist, which is 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red, and 1 green.
Oh.
Legendary creature, human wizard. As Ruka Rumel Biologist enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Slivers you control are non-token creatures you control are the chosen type in addition to their other creature types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. And you pay 3 colorless tap, create a 1/1 colorless sliver creature token.
This, I think, was spoiled in the Commander Masters pre-cons, but this is not the face commander of that deck.
Right.
Because the face commander is like a full-on sliver commander.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Right.
And this was like the alternate commander, because they always do that in the pre-cons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is busted.
Sliver allies!
It's so good. Oh, God.
Sliver warriors! There are no rules when you can add a creature type to Sliver
allies?
It's a rainbow deck!
Oh, my God. I'm just now thinking, like, that is disgusting. Actually, dude. That is so bad. It's really good. It's really good.
One of the most triggerable moments in my Magic the Gathering history is one of our close friends, Jordan, built him, right? It was you built him the deck, or did Ken build him the deck? Or did Blaze build him the deck?
The ally deck?
Who built him the deck? Yeah.
I think he built the deck.
Did he?
That's the
He
whole
built it
thing. Was
himself?
like, yes, because our friend Rick
Likes to win.
let me just talk about this for a second. He's one of those guys. He wasn't into Magic in the way that we were, but he was always willing to play with us, and so we were like encouraging him to like build. We were like, dude, you should build a deck, like like find something you like and sort of explore it. And so Rick comes back with this 5-color ally deck and just absolutely decimates us with this board
pretty much
state.
every game that he played with it, right? Turn 4 wins, because it's, if you don't know, allies are exponential growth. They give it in the same way that slivers are.
In the same way that slivers
where
are.
They give everything else on the board. I think allies are, when you have a new ally, it triggers for every ally that is there. Whereas slivers is like, it gives it a static effect.
Yes, like all slavers you control have trample, things like that.
Or all slivers have this particular ability, whereas allies is like triggered for this.
Yeah.
So if you make all the slivers allies, and you combine those,
Disgusting.
you can just create as many triggers as you want for ally decks. Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, what are we supposed to do if we don't all stop you? Because you play two.
It's really like
you play two
you
allies.
turn yourself into the arch enemy.
You play two allies, and then your next card, you get 3 triggers for all of the allies on the board. For each of their abilities. That's 9.
Ban it.
That's 9 times of things happening on your board state for the 3rd card you play, right? Like,
yeah, I can definitely see this being like this is an extremely powerful idea, very dope idea. Like I love this, but it would result in some very long turns.
Right now it's saying the foil on TCG player is 75 cents. So I don't know if it'll
under
stay
$1
there.
I feel like though things like this tend to simply because there's so much choice.
You have to really decide.
And this is probably, in terms of sliver builds, you're probably not going to choose this one.
Right, because you're going to want a better sliver commander for your slivers.
Yeah, and then you're going to see that those are the cards that are going to rise in price because
that's where
they're just better.
Jank adding on something to slivers is so funny to me.
Yeah, 100%. You could even do so many things with this. Wooburg elves if you wanted to. Yeah. Like, who cares? Like, whatever.
You have to have a good Wooburg mana base, I think. But also,
Definitely.
Part of what makes it janky is it being Wooburg, right? I like to not have a good mana base for Wooburg, and that just automatically nerfs your deck.
Definitely.
Right?
Just all those, dismal backwater lands that come and tap and gain you a life.
You can put whatever good
like
cards you want it, but, you don't have good mana, so it's going to take time for you to play and luck for you to draw, but that at least sort of evens out what's going on.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, Sliver, I had to mention Sliver allies, man. So
I know, and I so support that. I think that's a great idea. Don't ever play it against me, but I think that's a great idea. Now, let's take a look at our Discord poll of the day. So if you don't know, we have a Discord that you can join in all of our descriptions, our show notes, anywhere you're listening or watching this content, you can come and join our Discord. It's free for everyone. And in that Discord, every time we record an episode, we poll our Discord members, ask them a question, and then we compile the stats and talk about it here on the pod. So let's talk about today's question, which was...
What is your least favorite way to lose cards?
So the options were board wipes, single target removal, i.e. swords to plowshares and doomblade type effects, discard, milling, and losing control of, i.e. theft. So we compiled the stats.
We did all the numbers,
now let's talk
analysis. We put it into the machine, our poll machine.
Yeah, we put it into the magic polling machine,
tabulated
i.e. Cress's fingertips. And what are the results, Cressy baby? Tell me about them.
Okay, for our, the most people in the Discord at 36.84% said they didn't like their cards getting stolen by theft.
Yes, because that was me. I voted in that too.
I also voted that.
Yeah. Because sucks.
Yeah, and for me, it's like I don't want my little guys coming back attacking me.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels bad.
Yeah, I think it's a thing of, it's like a psychological thing for me, and I'm sure it's shared by many who also use this answer. Right. But it's like, whenever something of mine dies or goes to the graveyard, if I mill it, if I discard it, I'm usually running some kind of recursion in my deck, so there's always like a little bit of hope. You know what I mean?
Not same.
I'm like, I can get this thing back. And I don't know, theft just feels like, well, hey, I was about to use that. And then I just don't get to use it anymore. And I have to remove the thing that took it.
Waste my own removal on my own card.
On that thing. Yeah. It never feels good.
I agree. It's like, it's not, because here's the thing for me. If stuff gets removed, I'm a miller. So I have an outlook on cards that I don't, if it goes to the graveyard, then it's probably gone. Unless I'm playing a recursion deck specifically, like my self-mill deck or whatever.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I'm like, yep, that's it. Okay, On to the next card. I like top decking. I like playing with the heart of the cards if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh!
Right.
Fan. You know, I like rolling with the punches. I like building decks based around synergies, not specific combos.
Yeah.
So I'm not like wholly attached to my game pieces in the same way that I think a lot of, I would say, better deck builders are.
Different deck builders, not better. Different.
Yeah, a lot more, maybe more successful at winning deck builders. I think, and so theft just feels like, hey, I pulled that card to play. It was mine to play. And now I'm losing that game piece, not for good, but somebody else is doing my thing. I understand there are decks that are designed specifically for doing that. But I would rather you copy them rather than steal them.
Sure. That's, I think, because I like the appeal of that, of like stealing someone's stuff is appealing because it's like, that's a great game strategy. You get the benefit and remove the benefit from your opponent at the same time. That's amazing. Instead of just destroying the thing that was problematic. It's strategy wise, it makes sense. However, in terms of like social dynamics and things like that, I fully believe in copying as a better way. To maintain that like good nature at the table while still creating an advantage for yourself and not creating the salt on the other end by destroying or taking someone else's thing.
Also, logistically, if you're playing over spell table, it's annoying.
Definitely. Don't play theft decks over spell table, guys.
Yeah.
Please. I know Andrew's going to a game night right now and he brought his theft deck. That's fine. But if you're online, please.
That's just so much
that is a nightmare.
For the entire board to keep, like the entire table to keep track of.
Shall we just quickly gloss over these the rest of these stats? We don't have to go in depth.
Right. But the second most disliked is board wiping, and that makes sense. Followed by single target removal, right? You're making personal enemies. I think that's a little bit weird. Then followed by milling, then followed by discarding, which I find really surprising that people don't like getting milled more than they don't like having to discard what they're currently thinking about.
Yeah, I also I would not agree with this in terms of like the way that I assess these things, these 5 answers. Because
single target would be last, right?
I think it would go theft, board wipes.
Yeah.
I think I would I would put milling. I would put discard actually, not milling. Discard in third.
Then milling, then single target removal.
Milling, single target removal.
That's what I would pick too.
Yeah, because to me, it's this utter sadness of like, because obviously throughout a game of Magic, you're looking at your hand at all times and sort of game planning and formulating your next steps as things play out based on the cards that are in your hand.
Right.
So when someone just goes, by the way, you have to discard 2 cards.
Right. Or let me see that I'll discard that card specifically.
Oh, yeah, no, that is such a bummer, dude.
And
actually,
for
so sad.
theft players who get to look at your card in your hand instead of on the board state and play a card from your hand, or you discard it and they get to make a copy of it or whatever, that is like the number one, being like, okay, I guess you're playing everybody's decks and I don't get to do that. I don't get to play my own.
That's a full bummer. Let's move on to our patron question of the day.
Yeah.
So on our Patreon, if you join at the $3 tier, you get added to a patron exclusive channel in our Discord where you get to submit questions that we answer here on the pod.
And I just want to say real quick, for the current patrons that are in there and active and sending us stuff, whenever they come up with fun questions and stuff, got a bunch of questions, a bunch of engagement in that channel on the Discord all the time, and it's really really thank you. We appreciate it more beyond just the monetary supplement of the channel. It's so cool to get to see how much people care about the podcast and wanting to engage with the community in this way. So I just wanted to say thank you to those of to everybody who's in there, and we'll thank somebody specific in just a second.
Speaking of
just a second,
I also want to say I'm also very, very thankful for everyone who supports the podcast in whatever way that you do, whether you're a patron or not. But we're going to talk about a specific question asked by a very specific patron. It's Hitmon Champion's question this week. Hitmon Champion, thank you so much, dude. You're the best. We appreciate your support so much. Hitmon Champion asks, if you always had to play one color or color combo, what would it be?
When you say combo, I assume that means 2-color deck.
They said also, like, if the 2-color combo exists in a tricolor wedge or in Wooburg, you can also include that.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So, like, if you chose Rakdos, but you wanted to say Mardu...
But you could build a Mardu deck because it has the Rakdos in it.
Yeah, I think that's the gist.
So, like, if you chose one color on the color pie, you could build any deck with that. Okay, and we'll work our way, like, up. So if you picked one color, you could do any of the combos with that color.
I've chosen a 2-color combo already.
Right, so pick the one color first. That would be, like, where you would start. And then you could use all those combos, and then... moving forward out of those combos, what would you choose that you could then make any of the Triome colors with? Does that make sense?
Okay.
That's the way I'm hearing
that's fun,
it. It's sort of like, instead of being like what deck you align with, what one would you, if you had to use them specifically for the rest, would you not want to lose?
So I think I'll start with saying that if I were to choose one color to play for the rest of my time playing Magic on this earth, I think, and I want everyone to know, I personally... identify with like Selesnya. Like I identify
as like a person,
as a Selesnya person.
Yeah.
Like that's my vibe. You know what I mean? Green and white tokens. However, I will say that I think I would choose red as the mono color simply for the fact that there's a lot of variance in what you can do in red. You could do mono red artifacts. You could do aggro. You could do copies. You could do tokens. There's tons of fun stuff. Goblin typal if you want, you know, whatever. Dragons. There's lots of avenues for deck building. Like that's what I need as a deck builder and as a player is avenues for creativity and variance. Additionally, I also just enjoy the style of play of red. I like fast and aggressive and a little bit of luck involved with my play style, my playing. Moving along that line, I actually would probably go with Rakdos as my 2-color combo, for the same reason that there's lots of variance in the strategies there. And once we start introducing Rakdos, we start to get into some forced combat, like Cardor, for example.
Right.
And other like cool cards and commanders. Rakdos, Lord of Riots, is something that I've been looking at for a long time. I think we mentioned it earlier on another episode. And I think, I can't think of, I mean, I guess I would have to go with like Grixis or Mardu, but I actually don't really align with a lot of those. So I probably would just do Mardu just to be a safe answer. But I probably would pick a different tricolor wedge I think red and Rakdos actually are colors that I would stick with for the rest of my deck building if I had to.
That makes sense. I think mine's going to surprise you because I personally align with blue as I think makes sense. But if I was going to pick a color forever, I would pick black. And so that's where I think it would surprise most of the people that know me. And that's because I think black has the most fun creatures. You can argue for whatever creatures, whatever. But I think black has some of the most fun. A lot of black's color pie wheel philosophies around affecting the board state. And so a lot of black creatures have stuff that unique abilities that you can maybe pay with other things other than mana, right? With your life as a resource or with creatures as a resource.
Well, we saw that in this episode even. I mean, we talked about Vicious Battle Rager and we talked about that Commander Jaren that turns into Ormondal. I mean, there's lots of fun things you can do in there.
So I think creatively black as a color is the most stimulating for me, right? If I think green, I'm like, okay, I'm probably going to want mana base or big creatures. If I think blue, I'm probably going to be like, I'm thinking some sort of spell-basey thing or flyers. Sometimes blue delves into flyers. But so does every color. Red has flyers, green has flyers, white has flyers, now black has flyers, demons and stuff. I just think there's so much more to play with in black. And so when you expand that and then I add a color, obviously I'm a Dimir player. My mill deck is one of my favorites. And moving on to that, it would be the Sultai, probably Triome. It would be the green black.
Yeah, that all tracks.
Yeah, the green, black, blue, just because there's a lot to play around with, right? You can play around with how you play the game. Even when we were talking about that Ormondal deck, with green and blue added, you can then sort of like maneuver your way into like a different type of there's so many, whether you want graveyard recursion, whether you want to do a draw card deck, whether you want to do like an enchantment based deck. And then and Dimir reasons with milling, but you also have zombie route. You also have the flyer fairy route. You also have, I like black blue is like very like most cards that are printed in those colors. I'm like, that's a fun effect. And I think that is the basis for this question for me. What would I want to play forever? What cards do I see printed and go like today with that Ormond doll being like, I really want to just do something with this.
Yeah.
I really want to try to make this deck work beyond, like pulling off a specific combo in a deck, right? Which just like making this concept work in a more like vague set. I think you have more to play with in black.
Yeah. Great question, Hitmon Champion. Great question.
And a big enough twist
really made me think
like how you would identify, right? Which we did a poll, a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
So like,
and that's funny that we didn't talk about this beforehand, but that both you and I sort of deviated a little bit from where we both like sort of personally identify, which I thought was very interesting. Yeah. And that brings us to the end of the podcast.
Interesting.
That's sort of like.
Did you have anything to plug?
Oh, so many things to plug, Chris. I'm so glad you asked. Guys, listen, if you want to support all the fun stuff we do here at the Jank Center, including the podcast, short form videos, the Discord, and all of our monthly giveaways, make sure to check out our Patreon. We've got 4 awesome tiers. We got a $1 tier that gets you an extra entry in the giveaways every month in the Discord. We do run giveaways, by the way, every month in the Discord. You don't need to be a patron to join those, but if you join at the $1 tier, you get to have an extra entry in those every single month. At the $3 tier, you get the extra entry plus that ability to ask us questions that we answer here on the podcast. And at the $10 tier, this one's my favorite, you get everything plus access to our monthly patron game nights. Joining at this tier means you get added to an exclusive Discord channel where you get to jam games at least once a month with Cress and I, as well as the other patrons. Yep. Then for our big spenders or people who really want to support what we're doing here, we have the $25 tier. Supporting at this tier means that you get everything from the other tiers, plus shout outs at the beginning of every video and podcast, and the opportunity, if you're comfortable, to be a guest on our 5 Cards or Die series. So that's all very fun and good, but if you don't have the funds to support through Patreon, never fear, because you can join the Discord and be a part of the community completely free. The EDH Jank Center Discord is just, it's a cute little community. What can I say? It's a bunch of people that love budget, janky, underutilized cards. We talk about sets, spoilers, cards, budget brews, anything and everything under the MTG sun. And then don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube, follow the Instagram, follow us on TikTok at the EDH Jank Center, and make sure to leave a 5-star review of this podcast on the listening platform of your choice. It really, really does help us a ton with the algorithm and getting out to new listeners. Right. Is there anything you want to say, Chris? Any closing statements?
If you're watching on YouTube, I'm a little more involved in that end and doing the video stuff. So I'd like to see if you have any suggestions for how we've been sort of changing things up here and there. If you have any comments on it, if you are an audio listener, do you come to YouTube to listen to audio? We're trying to deal with like sort of accessibility things with the video format and with how things look and how things. So leave a comment. Let me know how you liked things so far. And yeah.
Then let's get out of here. We really appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Well, we won't see you, but we'll be here and you'll be here.
We'll be here and you'll be listening,
or you'll be
watching,
and we'll vibe.
Yeah. Oh, and the catchphrase. Remember, kiddos, the spirit of the format is the gathering.
Yeah.
Because it's Magic the Gathering.
That's the name of the game.
And the name of us is goodbye, because we're...
No, it's EDH
we're going
Jank Center.
Jank Center. Yeah, baby. We did it.
I'm Crest Lightning, signing off.
And Bye.